What's up, everybody? I'm John Middlekauff. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got content for days reacting to every NFL game all the time, every single day. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go. Quick thing on Deion. I know he lost, but I was really impressed watching them play. I mean, their quarterback's not very good, and I would guess over the course of the next couple weeks, they transition their young, highly touted guy, definitely split snaps in regular season games and potentially just go with the other guy. And I get, Deion's old school. You have a guy who's been in your program who probably does things the right way. You want to give the benefit of the doubt. It's not how I'm wired. I would just go with the more talented guy. But like old school people, especially people that, grew up with football in the 80s and 90s when he played, kind of the way it worked. But that guy, your team is actually pretty solid. You're not going to win games with that guy. What he has done at Colorado, like I was thinking this last night, over the course of the last 10, 15 years, pre-Deion, you couldn't have paid me to give my Friday night to Colorado, Georgia Tech. And I have worked in football and now talked about football for a living for almost 2 decades. And there's not enough money you could have paid me to made me care about that game knowing that no one else gives a shit. I didn't budge for 3+ hours. I was glued. Now, part of it is like, I like the Georgia Tech coach. Haynes King's a fun player. But that was like, the atmosphere in Boulder was awesome. That place was rocking. Deion Sanders took a dog shit, dead football brand. Irrelevant. Didn't matter. And made them matter again. So whatever they're paying Deion, he'd be like, well, he's only 12 and 13. His value to that program, making them not only relevant, brought in the Heisman Trophy. They're going to be, I don't know, they depending on their quarterback play, they could probably win anywhere from 6 to 9 games this year. I think Georgia Tech, most people think it's going to be pretty solid. That was a real football team they played. And they were going toe-to-toe with them as their quarterback, little like Arch Manning, throwing balls over guys' heads, skipping balls. But their physicality, they're just well-coached. And that city and area knows it. And that place was sold out, rocking, Foxes there. It just felt big. It really did. So we can argue, like, should Shadour's number have been retired immediately? Like, I get people to be like, it's kind of ridiculous. Because it is kind of crazy when you see Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter. I'd have Travis Hunter just won the Heisman. You want to retire? I get where people are like, this is pretty nuts. But just in terms of Deion's impact to that program, again, irrelevant. Did not matter at all in a sport that really matters. That's the number 2 sport in America. I bet that game this morning had well over 10 million people watching. Up until Game 7 of this NBA Finals, they weren't sniffing 9 million. If you told me 15 million people in the peak were watching Ohio State, Texas, I'd believe it. 20's on the table. Who knows? This number's going to be huge. College football really matters. I bet last night Deion will get 5 or 6 million people watching Friday night on Fox. But they wouldn't have 4 or 5 years ago, not with that program, because they would have been unwatchable. They would have been terrible. And I just think what Deion's done from a business standpoint, football, we'll see how many games he wins. I already think he's proven, watching him last night, like, good coach. Like, he's solid. Like, knows what he's doing. He's not going to be at Colorado long. But he resurrected and saved that program because it was deader than a doornail. The rivalries, the marching bands, the upsets, Saturdays just got way more fun. College football is back, baby. Think you know the game? Put your college football knowledge to the test with DraftKings Sportsbook and turn your picks into big payouts. Live betting during the game, rivalry week odds boosts, and so much more. DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered. Here's the thing. There is no bigger game than Saturday morning. Texas, Ohio State. I understand Arch has never started a big game. Played a couple last year, but never anything like this. Ohio State lost a ton of guys to the draft. I think this Texas team, if Arch lives up to the hype, poised to win an Natty, I'm taking Texas. I know it's at the shoe. I know it's a tough environment. I just think, as Earl Woods used to tell Tiger Woods, let the legend grow. That's what I would tell Arch Manning. Go win this game, cover that spread, money line, let the legend grow. And here's something special for first-timers, new customers. Bet just $5 and get 300 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the code John. That's code John for new customers to get 300 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. In partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. I got my start in football. Many of you know this, but at Fresno State, when I go on with Coward, I think he thinks I went to Fresno State. I technically went to Cal Poly. I was a GA at Fresno State. Got a master's degree, no big deal. Pretty meaningless and irrelevant, and I don't even remember really going to class, but I did get it. I got it framed in my closet. But I take a lot of pride in Coach Hill. I love the guy and people I worked with there, the players that were basically the same age as me when I went there right after college, still friends with a bunch, friends with a lot of people from the Fresno area. I love Fresno State football. My cousin played there before I went to work there. I've rooted for the program for a long time. And going to work for that program, then I saw Boise State in their heyday, had a front row seat. So I have a lot of respect for smaller, I get Power 5 forever, but Power 4 programs that aren't at that level, but consistently beat those teams and are really good year in, year out. It's hard because you don't have the budgets, Ohio State and Texas, of just like random Power 4 programs. You have no business competing with them. And for a long time, Boise could beat anybody. And there were years where I thought legitimately they could compete for a national championship. The one year Kaepernick beat them in Nevada at night when I think Boise missed a couple field goals, I thought that's Boise's best team ever. I thought they could have won the national championship. And Fresno, I don't think we were ever quite good enough on defense, but NFL players constantly, guys drafted in the first, second round, guys drafted in a bunch of different rounds. It was a legitimate NFL program. It pains me to say this. The days of those type programs are done. It's over. NIL killed them. A couple weeks ago, when I was flying to Hawaii, week 0, Fresno State got their teeth kicked in by Kansas. 24 hours ago, Boise got worked by the University of South Florida. Got destroyed. And last year, you saw Boise in the playoffs. And obviously, an enormous reason that they made it that far and had an excellent team was their star running back, who had a season that paralleled Barry Sanders. Well, I didn't know this, but right at the beginning of the year last year, there was an Athletic article on him. And Coach Dickert, who actually is at Wake Forest now, that came on this podcast, had given interviews as well. The Boise program and the boosters in the NAL, the most money they could pay the kid was $300,000, which was by far the most money given to a guy in the Mountain West. I think it's called the Pac-12. None of us know. None of us give a shit. Bottom line, that group of teams, right? The San Diego States, the New Mexicos, Oregon State, Washington State. Highest paid guy was $300,000, Ashton Jeanty. Well, he turned down to stay at Boise because he was very loyal. He's like a military brat. He was offered 7 figures by multiple programs, and he turned them down because he had loyalty to Boise and then had this historic season. That is an outlier situation. The equivalent of Ashton Jeanty at those type programs are gone 100% of the time moving forward. When I was at Fresno State, we had Ryan Matthews, who was drafted, I think, 12th overall, who was our running back. He replaced LaDainian Tomlinson with the Chargers. They literally cut him and drafted Ryan to replace him. Didn't go well. He got injured a lot, but Ryan was like a freak talent. There is no way on God's green earth, if the NIL existed, Ryan would have been on the Fresno State team his junior year. We couldn't afford to keep him, despite his loyalty. Because there gets to a point, it's like they're offering Texas or USC or whoever is offering me $1.4 million, and the most you can pay me is $175,000 in free sandwiches. These teams cannot compete. And listen, you could argue that's the way the world works in a capitalistic society with the economics, the way this world operates from Target to Walmart has been knocking out the little guy forever. That's the way we operate in the business world. Why is football any different? And it's not. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, because if I was one of these kids and I was at San Diego State and Ohio State got on the horn and said, this happened to Josh Simmons, the dude the Chiefs just drafted 31st. I didn't know this. I assumed like, oh, it's just a 5-star left tackle. He started his career at San Diego State. So when you have an elite talent, when you have a blue chip guy that for whatever reason, maybe his grades, maybe he was an underachiever in high school, maybe he was just a late bloomer. The moment you become bloom, like you become good, like it's clear, like there's no denying how talented a guy is, He's going to go to Oregon. He's going to go to Ohio State. He's going to go to Alabama. He's going to go to LSU. And I don't blame any of these guys because those guys out of high school would have gone to those places if they were offered a scholarship. But it's over. The little guy, and this we saw this in college basketball last year. The reason that the number one seeds are all going to consistently be making huge runs, the number one and two seeds, is because the Butlers of the world had a chance back in the day, VCUs. They will never have those players on the team their senior year. Why? Because they would be bought and paid for by their sophomore year. And that's definitely happening in college football. So the top brands in college football have always had a big advantage. The same teams have been winning most of my life. In the 90s, it was like Nebraska, Florida State, Miami. Over the last 25 years in Florida, it's been Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, right? Those teams, the top, the cream of the crop has been the cream of the crop, give or take a team or two for a long period of time. But it is never going to be less fair moving forward for the little guy. And this is what I said when they created the playoffs. I didn't understand why they gave an automatic bid to the non-Power 4 conference. Then a bunch of people in the college football world said, well, it's because of like litigation. They don't want to get sued. I get it, but I don't think they deserve a spot. Like last year, if you want to give Boise State because they have this great player, but for the most part, like just give James Madison a spot because they went 12-0. Like I'm sorry, they shouldn't. And hopefully, as time goes on, that changes and we stop worried about getting sued in terms of like we just want the best teams in the dance. But when it comes, if you're a fan of those programs, if you went to school with those programs, and it was always cool knowing like we could take on the big dog, you can't anymore. And you won't even have the players on your team by the time they come into their own as star players because they will be picked off. They will be bought and they will be stolen to other players. My wife was like, what's the transfer portal? And I started to explain it. She's like, so kind of like a dating app? I'm like, kind of like a dating app where you put in your information, but then whoever would quote unquote be on the other side who wanted to date you basically has to buy you. So if you're a good player and you throw your name in the transfer portal, you get bought. And the reason typically you put your name in there, obviously some people's like, I'm not playing, but a lot of people go like Minnesota. I think today they were saying Ohio State's one of their offensive linemen is from Minnesota. Well, clearly what happened? Ohio State's watching this kid in Minnesota going, God, this guy's really good. He would start for us. So whether he go to the back channel, hell, maybe they just text him or DM him directly, go, you want to start for Ohio State? And the answer is going to be, this guy's at Minnesota. This is a Power 4 program. Like you're in the Big Ten. But fuck yeah, I'd like to play at Ohio State. Would you rather throw a party for winning 8 games or try to win the national championship? I don't blame any of these guys. Hell, you could argue it's the money is secondary. Like who's turning down going to Oregon, going to Texas, going to Ohio State if they had the opportunity from a smaller program? But that opportunity didn't really used to exist because like no one was going to sit out a year. It's like I'll just play, I'll ball out here, and I'll be a second round pick. Well, now it's like I'll just ball out here until they call me, and then I'll go there and I'll ball out even more with more people watching and make more money, and then be a second round pick. So that's clearly what's happening right now, and in a weird way, it saddens me a little.